My VO group has this thing we call doing pancake takes,
Hmm.
which is basically it's the kind of the same concept of like when you make pancakes, the first pancake always comes out awful.
Yep.
It's like your first take of a bit of copy always is going to kind of suck because you're like, what's the order of these words? What is it trying to
Hmm.
convey? It's like you're never going to say it right the first time, but I don't, like, kick the cat out when I do my pancake takes, and sometimes she's just like, "I want to be in this take too," and it's just like, "Cat, I wish you wouldn't, because sometimes I do wanna use those." But that's my own fault for not, like, for not, like, kicking her out when I'm
Yeah,
doing
defining
recording.
boundaries more clearly. She doesn't know if this is
Right.
meant to be a good take or not.
Right, she doesn't know, she wants to be part of everything.
Hello and welcome to the Fast and Broken podcast, where we take a critical look at the fast-moving world of tech and online culture. I'm Carly Richter, a software engineer and startup founder who saw Iron Lung on opening weekend and really enjoyed it.
And I'm Teresa Kramer, an MBA student, project manager, and semi-professional voice actor who's just really glad for there to be more independent, like, work that's out there getting attention. It's good to break up the Hollywood monopolies.
Yeah, and that's the story there, which we'll be talking about third, is about
Mhm,
Iron Lung and sort of independent creators making movies successfully in the current environment, and also like
mhm.
the reaction to that.
Yeah.
More on the online culture side of tech and online culture, which we maybe don't get as much, but there's some tech stuff in there that I think is interesting too on like how he actually physically made the movie.
Mhm.
So we can talk about that a bit at the
Yeah.
end, where I'm keeping the fun stuff for the end.
Yay.
Before then, we will talk a little bit about Discord rolling out age verification everywhere,
Mhm.
and the very bad reaction to that they have received. And then we'll talk a little bit about SpaceX's acquisition of XAI,
Mhm.
which has come up again because there's a bunch of reporting about Elon Musk wanting a catapult to the moon and to build a factory for AI satellites on the moon. So we can talk about that
Hmm.
as much as there's things to say there, other
Other
than
than other than, "Okay, Elon."
So yeah, this went over badly. The summary of what they did, they have a news post here that says Discord launches teen by default settings globally, which is
Mhm.
things that they'd already done, like in the UK and other places where they have mandatory age verification laws.
Yeah.
But they just decided to roll that out everywhere. So the way that this works functionally is that if you want to access any age restricted spaces, including adult servers or adult content that has been flagged, video or pictures, and
Mhm.
apparently like certain commands and some message requests are also in here. You will have to verify your age, and you can do that either by providing ID or by using face age verification
Mhm.
through their vendor that they use to do age verification. And people didn't like this announcement for many reasons that we've previously talked about when it comes to age verification. It is a big invasion of privacy, being the big one,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily want to be uploading your personal information and biometric information just to be able to read a Discord message. That seems bad.
Mhm.
Um, so people were like, Absolutely no, that seems bad," and started canceling their Discord Nitro subscriptions and uh, looking for other Discord
Alternatives,
alternatives.
yeah.
Yes, there's an article in here that links the Google Trends for Discord alternatives search, going like whoop all the way up. uh, yeah, people were not happy, and Discord immediately recognized that they were not happy and posted an update the next day
Mhm.
called "Clarification on Our Approach to Age Insurance," which I don't think clarified anything or helped anyone feel better
Yeah.
about it. So.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other things I think is also relevant to the conversation of why people were like, "Absolutely not, this is a terrible idea," is that last fall, Discord had a security breach, um, with I think it was what is it? At least 70,000 users had identification data
Yes.
exposed, and so, yeah, so basically, like, not only, like, the whole argument about age verification in general, which we've kind of talked about, but also it's like, yes, you're doing this, like less than a year after this big data breach,
Hmm.
and we're supposed to trust you with our information.
Yeah, and like part of their update clarification was saying that we're using a trusted vendor that we like investigated thoroughly and believe in, and they weren't involved in the data breach, whatever.
Yeah.
But they didn't say what the vendor was or how we were supposed to believe them that they had vetted them in
Right.
any way, and or like be able to look up their history, their security history or anything. They were just kind of like, trust us though, they're reliable. Yeah,
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
that was one of the reassurances. The other reassurance in quotes is them being like, okay, but most people aren't going to have to do it. Probably you won't have to be able to do it. Um, and then saying some things about just like their privacy forward options through trusted partners. Mentioning that facial scans never leave your device at all, so they do client side facial age estimation. Um, IDs are
Mhm.
used to get your age only and then deleted theoretically. Um,
Theoretically.
and Discord only gets your age. So they did actually caveat that in, I think this has been updated since I saw it, but the original version of it did caveat it to be like, in most cases it's deleted immediately, but might be retained for just like debugging purposes, which is generally like that's how all of these things work. It's like, yeah, they're all supposed to be deleted immediately or with like
Mhm.
a 1 hour SLA so that you can like look at something if it goes immediately wrong, but then it's
Yeah.
deleted. Um, but then people just don't do that, or
Yeah.
they turn it off for some purpose and never turn it back on again because it's actually really convenient to have those around if you're trying to figure out what issues there are.
Mhm.
And then there's a data breach and they get leaked.
Yeah.
In a lot of these data breaches, it is just like it's not that there was the full database of all images. It's like this is the past month since they turned off the delete process, or actually
Yeah.
they have um their age to delete set to a month instead of an hour or something more reasonable, sort of thing. So like there's
Mhm.
no like even the statement IDs are processed and then deleted does not actually give a timeline or an assurance on that. So they're like
Yeah.
the reassurance here like contain no real reassuring information from my perspective, other than their attempt to be like most people shouldn't care about this because you specifically aren't going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's also like, yes, we're going to keep children safe from adults by treating all adults as if they're children unless they
Hmm.
tell us otherwise, and it's just like you realize how just absolutely backwards that is in terms of just like, okay, cool. So you're going to like force all the adults into the child space unless they want to play by your age verification rules. And and yeah, and it's not even talking about the whole, oh look, like you can just very easily use this tool to get past it if you are a
Hmm.
kid who wants to get into an adult space, which again, it's like kids are going to want to enter adult spaces. It's just part of being a kid. Like,
Yes.
it's so slippery slope because it's so, like, premised on this is about content safety, and, like, what do they list as content safety? It's sexual material and it's violent material.
Hmm.
And, it's like, okay, cool. Like, when does that start including things about minority identities? When does that start including, oh, we don't want the kids hearing about, this political stuff, so we're going
Yeah.
to block it all. And so it's like, yeah, it's like, it's just, I don't know, it continues to be this thing of just like, it's infantilizing children in a way that I find increasingly frustrating. Psychologists have like gone on record being like, no, like the right way to like deal with kids and like violence and sexuality and difficult topics is to just have frank conversations with them.
Hmm.
It's not to treat things like they are taboo. It's make sure that like they know what it is, what it means, and so they can make informed decisions and have real conversations with trusted adults about it. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. But no, the internet is poisoning children, and we must stop it. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, and just like the whole panopticon aspect of it. If well, if you just share all of your information with us and you're not doing anything bad, then it's fine.
Mhm.
And which we talked about before.
Yeah.
I feel like a couple of unique things that were interesting about this one to me was one, just sort of like the tone of their clarification, because it was very much just like
Mhm.
why are you guys so upset about this? Most of you aren't even going to have to do it, as if like the wider user base
Yeah.
cannot be upset on principle.
Right, right. It's like, it's not going to affect you, and it's like, have you looked at the current political climate right now, buddies? It's like we're kind of worried about things that don't necessarily affect us directly right now. Hello?
Yeah,
Like,
so I thought that was very tone deaf. Um,
mhm.
and interesting that they managed to let that tone leak into their official news post. But I think
God.
someone was being like, "But why did you guys not like my feature launch? I worked really hard." I'm like, to be fair, I'm sure they did work really
Sure.
hard to make it as least impactful as possible. Not least because they knew people were going to react badly to it. And I think they did say somewhere like we expect to lose some users over this, but not as many as
Yeah.
that they have lost. Um,
Mhm.
but that goes to the second sort of interesting thing that I thought here is that they mentioned also that like they do behavior-based age estimation, which is part of the reason why most people aren't going to have to do it. What's the actual quote here? Um, for the majority of adult users, we will be able to confirm your age group using information we already have. We use age prediction to determine with high confidence when a user is an adult.
It looks like was it based on user behavior and several other signals
Yes,
associated with their account
that's the one that I was
use.
like, what is several other signals?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, sure, you definitely can use certain signals on an account to determine if somebody is not 18. It's like, do they have a credit card? You know, it's like, because generally people with credit cards that, it's like are associated, like, are not going to be teens. But like that also, like, just again, that implies like this weird level of surveillance and
Yeah.
observation that I'm just really not comfortable with it. It's like, Discord, are you in my messages noticing that I'm talking about filing taxes? Like, what
Yeah,
the
like
heck? It's
they did
like,
again clarify later that they said that they meant not your messages.
yeah.
Um, so they're not reading your messages and deciding if you're talking about adult things. They're looking at
Yeah.
like the time you're on it and if you're only on it outside of working hours and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But they were very vague about other signals. And also,
Yeah.
again, like that's not reassuring to people. And I saw a lot of people
No.
being like, oh, you tried to reassure me by like, oh, no, I've actually already been surveilling you well enough to get your age. Don't worry. Is not perhaps the.
Like, on the one hand, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm worried about that," but on the other hand, I'm like, that's not news in a
Yeah, I
weird
know.
way,
That was
you
my
know?
feeling too.
Mm. It's like, yeah,
Like,
this is concerning, but also this isn't new because yeah, it probably is very much a thing that, like, oh, yes, definitely adults probably have different, like, login patterns than children do, and even just, like, age of accounts and stuff like that. Like, I'm
yeah.
pretty sure my Discord account is, like, older than like, old enough that you're like, you would have had to been an infant when you started this if you're a teenager right now. So it's
Yes.
like, I'm kind of two minds of this because, like, on the one hand, it's like, yes, 100% there is absolutely user data that you can use to determine if somebody's an adult or not. That requires no scraping of information. I think, like, the humorous post that was going around Tumblr was like, yeah, if you were involved in like Super Hulock, we know you're not a teen. Super Hulock being this like fandom thing that happened like 10 years ago. And so they're just like, no, you're not a child if you were involved in that. But even if the account is only like 10 years old, for example,
Yes.
usually it's like, yeah, you're not a teen
Yeah, I think you're
because
not
you
supposed to
would,
use Discord under 13, like basically most
yeah,
other web things, which I
mm,
think is why they
right.
are deliberately using teen here and not child,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
exactly.
want to emphasize that this is the 13 to 17 block.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, are those things concerning? There's one argument of like, you don't need to access personal information to necessarily determine age. There's a lot of just like raw user data that's non-identifying that can in fact determine someone's age. So it's like one slice of it. Is it concerning that that is a thing, that there is in fact like
Mhm.
an amalgamation of raw non-identifiable user data that can determine your age? Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Broadly
yeah,
concerning.
broadly concerning, yes, and it's like, and should we kind of have a conversation about that separately? I Yeah, agreed. I think but I think that kind of falls into this whole sort of like this broader conversation
Mhm.
topic of like data brokers and like
Yeah.
the level of information collection that happens on the internet. But putting those two things aside and like using that information to filter what you can and cannot see, also kind of a just concerning thing.
Yeah, I do think broadly there is not enough conversation about how companies and the government can combine different sets of data in different ways that each individually are not necessarily sensitive
Mhm.
or identifying, and get something that is sensitive and identifying. And this
Yeah.
is, I say this even as a person who worked on some of this. Like back when I was in recommendations at Amazon, I was definitely reading a lot of papers about like how you anonymize user behavior data. And like we never had, for example, email addresses or names associated with purchase data when we were working on it. We just had customer IDs. So we didn't know who
Mhm.
any of these people were. But then there's a lot of questions about, like, say, did we want to do something like the Netflix prize, where we released an anonymized set of data for people to like do research work on, etc.
Mhm.
And the thing is, there was a bunch of research that if you got like people's watch history or browsing history or purchase history anonymized, and then combine that with like other publicly accessible sets of data in some cases, like
Mm.
voting records or like anything that is like, as soon as you got an intersection of several of these data sets, you basically got everything down to one person and you knew who they were. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of that kind of data processing that is happening now
Mhm.
with a lot of stuff, and being like, okay, yeah, maybe like flock license plate reading or whatever by itself is just, I saw this license plate on this street corner. But if I combine that with like the DMV records, I know who that person is. And if I combine that with like whatever
Mhm.
else, like
Like
searching
IP
the,
addresses and yeah.
yep, IP addresses, searching that person's name on the internet and coming up with what their usernames are that they use all the time, finding that
Mhm.
username across multiple websites, looking at what they post about on those websites. Like there are companies that do this kind of like synthesizing and combination and building profiles of people based on disparate information.
Yeah.
And government agencies are using them.
Mhm.
And companies are also using them for
Yeah.
marketing purposes. And that's like, that's should be concerning to people. And I don't think people think
Yeah.
about that as much. And so the companies who work on this do say things like, oh, we can tell your age already, don't worry. And then don't realize that that's kind of alarming to people who don't think about
Yeah.
how this happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it's like I definitely, like was it? I just think to the, like, the Last Week Tonight episode with John Oliver, I think it was, like, it must have been, like, a year or so ago where he was just, like, talking about data brokers and talking about how it's like, "Oh, yeah, like, I was very easily able to obtain a lot of information about, like, sitting US senators
Hmm.
and what their browsing history is and sort of, like, it's like what their, online behaviors are and stuff like that." And it's like, it's not difficult. And, um and that's yeah, and again, like, that's really more concerning than I think a lot of people realize,
Yeah.
um, because it is what that's sort of what the current advertising economy is built off of in a lot of
Hmm.
ways.
Yep.
We've not done anything about it, and arguably, we really should do something about it
Yes.
for data privacy and stuff,
And that's not
but
even
yeah.
getting into surveillance companies using ad systems to collect data specifically,
Yeah, yeah.
like with the real time bidding stuff. I don't know if you've read any things
Mm,
about that, which is fun. So, like, there are apps that collect location data, obviously, and you allow them to collect location data. And supposedly they only use that location data like for the purpose of the app, but often
mhm.
they will provide that location data for the sake of ad network calls, basically, to like
Yeah, yeah.
get the ad for to display you when you're in a particular area. And that
Mhm,
means that all of the companies that are bidding on the ad get the location data of the person so that they can decide what ad they want to target to them. And so, if you are a person who just wants to collect location data, you can submit ad bids, not attending to actually win the
mhm.
bid and display an ad, but just to harvest all of these location data that
Oh,
the
man.
apps are sending. And this is done quite frequently also. So, in
Yeah.
addition to just like s- building in SDKs to apps that just send them the location data directly, which also happens. And there was a big 404 media article about how many big apps like Candy Crush were using some of these
Mhm.
because they get money for them because data brokers will pay for it. So
Yeah. Mhm,
um, yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and I really wish that we were more focused on that kind of stuff and not on all of this age verification stuff and trying to ban TikTok and whatever, because that's there's a lot more
mhm.
real concerns there. But there's also a lot more real money that doesn't want this to be focused on. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's just a problem in many, many ways. And the one thing where I feel like Discord doing this is a little bit different is that I feel like Discord at least sometimes in the past has kind of cowed to user pressure
Hmm.
because they are at their core like they were founded in like that gaming space. They were
Yeah.
founded at their core as like this is how people can connect and play video games together. And so I feel like they're at least on the surface a little more attentive when the user base gets very loud about something
Hmm.
that isn't working. So
Yeah.
like
My
mm,
my caveat to that will be like they were founded working on that, but they were also founded by a guy who'd already done gaming startups and had close contacts with VCs and got VC funding for it basically immediately. And also they're planning an IPO soon. So they're
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
clean up their act for the IPO basically so that they don't get any major like pushback on like kids being abused on Discord because that's a big conversation currently and they want they
Yeah.
want to clean that one up before their IPO. I'm certain. So
Yeah.
is why that they're complying in advance here because that's the other part of it. It's like they had to do it some places because there's laws, but
Mhm.
now they're just like we'll just do it everywhere. Um,
Yeah. No, yeah, like, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's important because other companies are watching, and this is how
yeah,
other companies are going to react or change how they approach the situation. I don't know. It will just be interesting to see what happens. I'm especially because they're looking at IPO. It kind of then feeds into that larger conversation of sort of like, do you do what you're doing for your users, for your customers, or are you starting to appeal now more to shareholders and to that side of things? It's a lot of like this weird shift that we're seeing in a lot of companies where it's just like, I'm not necessarily doing what's right for my customers specifically. I'm just going to do what's right for my shareholders or for
yeah,
the profit margin piece of it. And so with all of those things kind of just like layered on top of that, it'll be
yeah,
very interesting to see like directionally how they go and also just kind of like how much impact does this have on their bottom line? Do they step back on things?
yeah. I will also caveat that a little bit that the is IPO going to basically change how they're operating and make it be for shareholders instead of users? With the fact that Discord has had $1 billion of VC funding, their
Yeah.
shareholders right now are currently VCs. And like
Yeah.
as we talked about before, um, being public does require a lot of disclosure requirements. So
Yes.
they will have to actually like report on how they're doing to people such that we can see. And so
Yeah.
potentially like that is going to require them disclosing some things that they would like to clean up first, and this is part of that. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, like I'm very torn on the like, is a company IPOing good or bad broadly?
Mhm.
Because like, I also think them being driven solely by public perception and shareholder value and not the experience of their users is bad. I am not sure the public versus private line is the line where that happens, and that
Yeah.
does give more transparency into the company's operations. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
It's hard. Yeah, yeah, like, definitely not trying to, like, imply, like, it's like one's good, one's bad. Like, yeah, like I
Yeah,
said, it's like I just, like it's something to watch, it's something to see how they react, it's something to see, like, what like, it will be telling in their history
yeah,
pretty much of how
yeah.
they
It'll be
decide
definitely
to react.
definitely be interesting to see what happens. And even if they
Yeah.
do IPO soon, because I just Googled it and like the most recent said they were planning for March, which is coming up soon here.
Yeah, that's
Um,
very soon.
and especially if they just had like their paying monthly active users drop pretty dramatically as everyone canceled Nitro. I am not sure that they're going to do it in March until they figure out how to fix
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Mhm. I will have to wait and see.
The one more thing I wanted to say before I finish was on the topic of like, yes, that's concerning, but that's not surprising level is people also got upset about the comment on their sort of like image safety filters basically that are
Mm.
identifying potentially sexually explicit or violent material
Ah,
and
yes.
like blurring it out immediately or whatever, and people
Mhm.
being like, what do you mean that you're looking at all of my pictures basically?
Yeah.
um which is like, you're uploading the image to Discord servers, guys. Like they have the image and they are also legally required to make sure you're not uploading CSAM because Discord
Yeah.
has in fact been a huge distributor of CSAM. So they're definitely screening your images. Sorry. Like that's
Mhm.
um the question of whether it should be proactively blurring things and then not let anyone who doesn't have their age verified see it ever is a separate question from, do they have any automated systems that are looking at the images? So
Yeah, yeah, like, I think that also gets to the, like, it's like, "What do you mean Discord knows my age?" It's like, "What do you mean Discord is looking at my
yeah,
images?" And it's just like, if you did not know that, I'm sorry, but, like, it's been happening,
yeah,
It's like, that's not new. Um, but, like, yeah, like, interesting that this is how you are finding out about that. I guess, like, it's different now in kind of the age of AI, such that, like, I vaguely would trust Discord a little bit more to not incorrectly flag
yeah.
content, whereas, like, because I think back to, like, again, Tumblr,
Hmm.
when Tumblr was just like, "No, like, sexually explicit, like, female presenting nipples or whatever,"
Yeah, and then they flag
and
anything with skin tones in it. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't think we're going to wind up there because
yeah,
I do think that image recognition, and identification of, like, what is in an image is better now.
yes,
Just it's better. Um, but it is definitely, it's like, it's still a slippery slope. It's still very much, it's just like, okay, cool. Now that I do kind of trust you to identify if an image is of, like, a heterosexual couple kissing versus, like, a non-heterosexual couple kissing. It's like, okay, cool. Are you going to flag the non-heterosexual
hmm,
couple, but not flag the heterosexual couple? It's like, where are you drawing the line, Discord?
yep,
So, and that's very telling. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Definitely all content filters are like, I think content filters are broadly good
Mhm.
because you do not actually want people to be surprised exposed to CSAM or
Yeah.
extremely like disturbing images.
Mm,
It's nice to identify those and screen those out good. Not only because it's just like illegal, but in some cases, but having to have humans review those is
yes,
also
is very
really
good.
helpful. Is also really
Mhm.
good. But it's also really concerning to me that like we don't really have transparency into how these are done or like what the false positives or negatives are,
Yeah.
and if those are biased in some way. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
would,
Yeah, it's the bias.
yeah,
It always kinda comes down to the bias.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see what they do. It does
Yeah,
sound like they got really scared, but they're
good.
probably figuring out what they can or want to do about it at this point. So, because
Yeah.
again, like, what if they roll it back and then the U.S. passes COSA or whatever, and they have to immediately enact it again?
Enable it anyways, yeah. But at least then it's not them complying in advance kind of thing? So,
Y-
this is where it gets into, like, very sticky territory given our current administration.
Yeah.
It is one of those things where it's like, in a perfect world, even in an imperfect world, but in just, like, a world that's not our current world, I would prefer that the government is the one that has a say on, like, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. I would prefer that to kind of be in the government's hands, but since we live in a proto-fascist dictatorship, it's like, well, maybe not right now specifically, maybe not this government specifically.
We want our fascist dictator making decisions or our corporate oligarchs? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, tough choice, tough choice.
Speaking of proto fascists and corporate oligarchs, do you want to talk about Elon Musk?
Yay.
I needed to do that segue. It was very important.
That's a very important segue, yes. Uh,
So like a couple weeks ago now, Elon Musk merged all his companies together, not all of them.
yeah,
But SpaceX acquired XAI, which previously I don't know that we even talked about it here because it was such a non-event.
mhm,
XAI acquired X, formerly known as Twitter.
yeah,
So all of those things are one thing now. The rocket company, his AI company that's building Rock, and the social media company formerly known as Twitter are all one company now called SpaceX.
mhm.
Um, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's interesting to have a social media platform in your aerospace company.
Also,
Like the AI in the aerospace kind of makes sense, but like adding your social media company on top of that is a little bit like, okay, buddy, whatever.
yeah, and there's a lot of things I have to say about this. Like one of them is people are just like, okay, yeah, this is the way he's going to get more funding for both XAI and for X because those are
Yeah,
things that are not profitable on their own, and SpaceX is. Um,
yeah. Kind of
yeah,
just following like the Amazon model of like, I'll subsidize company
mhm,
A with company B.
yep, yes. This quote from Money Stuff is if your investors who are super stoked for a $1 trillion space rocket IPO, throwing in $250 million of somewhat confusing AI and free speech still lives in with a mostly space rocket company. It's 80%
Mhm.
cool rockets and 20% which might be easier than funding that on a standalone basis.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just like the statement that he took Twitter private and then he merged it with an AI company and then he merged it with a rocket company and now it's going to go public again as part of SpaceX,
Interesting.
which because that is the
Interesting.
trajectory that we are seeing here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that he's going public with SpaceX.
Yes, because that's also part of what people are talking about here is like this is the SpaceX IPO,
Mm,
and also interesting to me because when we were talking about big IPOs for this year as part of our first episode, I think of the year, we talked
mhm.
about OpenAI and Anthropic a lot,
Yeah.
but it just kind of alluded to SpaceX because I was like, well, that's not one of the
Yes.
AI companies, but it
Now
is
it
now.
is. Now it
So,
is.
it is now, and they're getting in there, and they're like, but also we have an extremely profitable rocket company alongside it, so he's cheating a little bit. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It is very much, I don't know. It just makes me really sad that, the FTC doesn't enforce antitrust laws anymore. That's really all I
yeah.
can think about this. You're just being like a robber baron, you know? You're
Well,
just, like, integrating all your companies into a single, you know,
just a weird
in the
mega conglomerate, a trust
yeah,
in the sense
mega
of,
conglomerate, there you go, yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
yeah,
But yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's just like, this shouldn't exist. This shouldn't be a thing that somebody
yeah.
can do,
And
and
I
it's
mean,
like and to be very clear, it's like, I hate that Amazon does this, I don't like that Google does this, and so it's like, of course I'm not going to like that SpaceX is doing it too. Like, I just don't like this
yeah,
very contemporary trend of, like, we're just the everything company that does all these things, and so we so we offset our losses from one with our gains from the other, and in doing so, like, push out the competition that can't do that
hmm
because they're not mega conglomerates. And so it's just so frustrating because
yeah.
it's bad for industry, it's bad for small business.
And
It's just
that's a lot of the
bad.
takes about like what the
Mhm.
core motivation here is that it
Yeah.
gives him the way to subsidize Grok,
Yeah.
XAI work with SpaceX and get money that way to compete with the
Mhm.
other big AI companies who do not have a giant money making space
Yeah.
company to hook on to themselves. Although you do have, for example, Google with a giant advertising machine funding
Mhm.
it, etc. Um,
Yeah.
I I saw a funny take the other day about Demis Hassabis, who's Google DeepMind, also mentioned that like there's no ads in Gemini, pre Chat GPT having ads, and then
Right.
everyone's like, that's because you're subsidizing it with like the 90% of Google's profits that comes from ads on literally all of your other products.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you don't need ads on Gemini because ads are all over everything else you do.
So that was
So,
funny to me.
yeah, that is funny.
So yeah, that is interesting and an interesting way to for him to leverage his ability to compete in the AI race here.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
like it.
because
I deeply just don't like it.
the way to compete in the AI race appears to be how many billions of dollars are you as a person physically capable of wrangling. Um,
Mhm. Which is also just bad. Like, that's
yeah,
just bad, you know? It just like, I know we've talked about this, but that's not how an industry should operate. You know,
yeah,
for everybody who cries about the
yep,
meritocracy, it's just like, cool, that's not a meritocracy of AI. That's a
yeah, and
meritocracy
that's
of snake oil salesmen.
all VC is like that.
Yeah.
In general, in the sense that the major thing that is the
Mm.
decider of success is your ability to raise capital.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people who very nice people who I know who are VCs and like to justify themselves will justify it as, well, the ability to raise capital is correlated with your ability to sell your product to your customers. Like it's the same skill set, which
Right, but but that's not
it's
the
not even necessary.
merits of your product.
Yeah, that too. There's also the whole business versus product question here. But like even from a
Yeah.
business perspective, I don't think that's necessarily true because it depends on what you're selling
Mhm.
and to who, whether those
Yeah.
skills are transferable. If you're selling like B2B software and the people you're talking to are basically the same people, then yeah, sure. If you're trying to make a consumer product, trying to sell to VCs and trying to sell to your users, as we've discussed, is a very different thing.
It's not the same
So
thing. Yeah.
I don't think those skills transfer. And in fact, the one
Yeah.
skill might be harmful for the other one. So
Right. Well, and again, like, your ability to sell a thing is a reflection of your ability as a salesperson and not a reflection of the quality. Like, sure, having a quality product generally does make it easier to sell said product, but there's still a division there. A really good salesperson can sell you a shitty car, and it's like
yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to do with the quality of the product. And
And that's a
so
whole other
yeah.
level, because there's does fundraising translate to sales step,
Mm,
and then there's does sales skills transfer to product goodness step, which are
yeah,
both steps of abstraction away from the meritocracy of the actual thing that you're building.
right.
So that's cool. It's it's very frustrating how in general in capitalism we
Mhm.
seem to be several levels removed from the best products win out in the market.
Yeah, yeah. I just I'm constantly thinking back to like the Hank Green video that he put out that was
Yeah.
like about the core of capitalism is not even necessarily making a good product, it's pursuit of capital. And we have kind of gotten to this point where it's just like, oh, what do you mean I don't actually need a product to make money? I'm just going to go and make money. And more, I feel like people at the heads of these
Yeah.
companies are just like recognizing it's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm selling. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter
Yes.
if it does something that helps people or like makes their lives better. Like what matters is I'm making money.
Yeah. The other one I always think about there, also related to Hank Green, I think he was doing the interview. Hank Green interviewed Sam Reich on the Dakota podcast a while back, and that was a really good one that I recommend about Dropout. And apparently he acquired it for $0, which I didn't know.
Wow.
Um, and basically they were just like, we don't think you're going to succeed at this because like you're really good at the production comedy part of it, but that's about the product and not about the business. And to run a business, you need to have business skills, which are different. And it's just like, I think that shouldn't be true.
Yeah, yeah.
um, and like to some extent, it does appear that you can build a good product and then
Mhm.
get sales. So that's nice.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
will be relevant to our third section too, which
Yeah,
is
yeah. I was about to say it's like we're
um,
setting up a very lovely like transition and
yes, I have more things to talk about before we get to that segue. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the other funny thing here, because we haven't even gotten to the space catapult yet.
Blah.
The other funny thing here, the new money stuff for this talks about it as Musk's moonshot merger, whereas
Mhm.
previously he had talked about the Musk Mars conglomerate, where like if you want to think about how all of Elon Musk's companies go together, it's because he wants to build a colony on Mars with a bunch of cool cars driving around and like a government run by Twitter. But it seems like he's backed off on from Mars a little bit apparently lately. And this other article that we have is titled "Elon Musk Wants to Build an AI Satellite Factory on the Moon." In a meeting with employees at his company XAI, Mr. Musk revealed a vision for a facility that includes a giant catapult to launch his satellites into space. Which is just like these guys. I've talked about how these guys are so driven by just sci-fi and not
Yeah.
reality.
Mhm.
But I feel like that was particularly bad there. Everyone's really into
Yeah.
data centers in space right now, also for AI.
God.
Um, and he's like, okay, moon more achievable than Mars, but still cooler than data centers in orbit.
Uh,
Or he'll have a factory on the moon to build the data centers in orbit so that it's more efficient or whatever, and have a
yeah.
mass driver catapult on the world to send the stuff. Yeah,
Um,
it's just wild. It's just like surely we all have more important things to worry about than catapults to the moon right now, but Elon Musk does not. So
it's just kind of it just gets really frustrating.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, Elon Musk says crazy things, and I don't know that we need to go so too deep into the
Yeah, like
catapult to
he's
space, but
yeah, like he's crazy. We don't need to like. I mean, and Sam Altman was talking about Dyson Sphere at one point in time, which was so dumb. But I don't need to like. I'm sorry, we've not avoided talking about Sam Altman today.
days since that last incident.
Yeah, yeah. Jason's last incident reset the clock. But I did just need to rag on him for the one time that he was mentioning like Dyson spheres in an interview, which like for very TLDR, like a Dyson sphere is a physics concept that's actually impossible, but the idea being that like you build a sort of like sphere around the sun of a solar
Yeah.
system to harness energy. And it's like, and it was written in a article that was basically like a physicist just be like kind of ragging on other physicists. It wasn't actually like introduced as a like this could really happen sort of thing. And yet
Mhm.
all of these sci-fi motivated weirdos who are running all the corporations in America right now, Sam Altman was like, yeah, we'll just build a Dyson sphere. And it's just like, that isn't a real thing.
Just
Yeah.
feeling like the steps from I have identified a problem and it's that there's an energy crisis with AI to we could just build a sphere around the entire sun and then get all of the excess energy that way. It's like there's so many things that you should do before you get there. Like you should
Yeah.
never get there.
Yeah, yeah. And like again, like that's like, even ignoring the fact that the concept of Dyson
Yeah.
sphere comes from a physics paper that was like a joke.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to give Sam Altman small amounts of credit, maybe it was a rhetorical device to be like, it's not like there's a lack of energy in
Yeah.
the world, in like the solar system, basically. Like
Yeah.
there's so much energy. We just need to be able to get it,
Mhm.
more or less.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know that anyone thinks that like there's a physical lack of energy is the problem. So
Right. Yeah. And as we were talking about in I think the episode we were talking about data center energy needs and stuff
mhm,
like that, it's really the infrastructure that's the problem.
yes,
It's like it is not that there is not enough energy. There is plenty of energy. The problem is getting the energy to the right places at the right times and in the right amounts.
yes.
That's the problem.
That's another it'll be interesting to see how the IPO goes. The IPO space will
Yeah.
be interesting this year because if we're still talking
Mhm.
OpenAI, Anthropic race, and also throwing SpaceX into the race now as an
Mhm.
AI company that might get out there first, but
Yeah.
also has rockets.
But also has Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, also, it's days since last incident reset again. But I saw an article that I want to mention this briefly about how executives at OpenAI were really surprised to see some reporting that they might IPO in December this
Mm.
year because they were like, "We are absolutely not ready for that." So,
So they're probably out the race. I don't know. Who knows though? Sam
if,
Altman might just say
yeah,
he
I was
wants
gonna
to, and
say
then
like overrule the objections. That seems to be what he does. So we'll see.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's also like I just want to like sidebar a moment of like how annoying it is that Elon's like I'm going to buy Twitter, make it private, just so I can smash it with my other companies and put it public again. It's like
yeah.
that's annoying.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just so.
The other
Oh my
thing that I
god, it
wanted to
just
get
makes
back
me
to on
mad.
the antitrust point is like it's
Yeah,
wild
yeah,
how quickly these things happened
yeah.
because they're private companies and they don't have to like get very much approval. Elon Musk's the
No.
controlling shareholder, all of the companies,
Hmm.
so he sits in a room with himself and is like, "I would like to merge this company with this company." Yes, I agree with that, and then he signs the documents. Like that's
It's
what's
done.
required
Yeah.
to merge companies when Elon Musk does it. Like
Hmm.
that's why it's like, okay, now XAI has acquired X. And everyone's like, what? Wait, those companies are the same thing now? SpaceX acquires XAI. What? Oh, okay. Like literally from concept to execution was apparently like 2 weeks on that one.
Yeah.
Um, which is wild considering we're all used to just like a merger is announced and then like 3 years later when it goes through all of the antitrust process, it gets approved. Like
Yeah.
the Warner Brothers Discovery Netflix slash Paramount thing. Like
God,
that's
that's
not going to
still
close for like a million
no.
years. Like Um,
Yeah.
but if it's private and you're Elon Musk and you own all of it, you can just be like, okay, they're the same now. There's not really anything to stop you. Let's
Yes, yes.
segue. Segue is speaking of selling products and being successful just based on the product and not necessarily fundraising or a
Yeah.
business strategy. Let's talk about Iron Lung.
Yeah, let's talk about Markiplier.
Yes. So, Iron Lung, overview for people who know nothing about Iron Lung, I guess. It's a movie, a horror movie, came out a couple weekends ago now. It was made independently by Markiplier, who is a big YouTuber, including like interactive experiences funded by YouTube Originals and other things. Iron Lung was originally a video game, an indie video game made by a single developer. It is about being in a submarine in an ocean of blood post an apocalyptic event in which all of the planets in the universe just randomly disappeared and there's only people left on just like moons and spaceships and suddenly there's this moon with an ocean of blood and they want to know what is in it. So that's the premise, and that's about as
Mhm.
much as like you get in the original version of Iron Lung about what's going on there. And
Yeah.
you just sort of have to navigate your submarine around the ocean of blood and take pictures of things. It's a sort of creepy, slow horror game. And Markiplier
Yeah.
streamed it and played it and liked it a lot and decided that he wanted to adapt it as a film, which he did. So this movie production was completely self-funded by him. He apparently spent about around $3 million on it. He
Mhm.
like recruited a crew and like paid people and stuff. Obviously, had a lot of like real filming equipment. They had a whole like rig set up for the submarine on just like a thing that could shake it back and forth with him inside it. Because he was also the star and the director and the producer. And
Yeah.
it was basically kind of a one-man show. There are a few other people in it, but it does take place mostly just within the submarine that he is in alone. So
Mhm.
that's sort of the premise of the movie. And he made it, and then he got it out into theaters, which was a whole story by itself.
Mhm.
He like didn't want to work with distributors because distributors wanted to take a huge cut of it for basically just like talking to the
Yeah.
theaters for him. And he's like, I can talk to the theaters. But the guy he was working with, who was the talk to the theaters guy, was like, well, let's start in like 3 theaters. And Markiplier had to be like, that would be insulting to my audience. I have 38 million YouTube followers. Let's start in slightly more than 3 theaters. So they started in
Yeah.
60 theaters, and he announced his like stream where he was like, okay, we're in 60 theaters. Go to this map and see if there's one near you. And then he was like, and if you don't see one near you and there's a theater near you that you would like it to be in, you can contact them politely. Politely, only if you want to see the video. Only do this if you would go to see the video, call them politely or email the address. You can usually find it on their website. Politely request the video. Just say, I would like it if you had Iron Lung and I would come see it. That if you want to. And one of the interesting things from the Deadline interview is him talking about you have to be very careful as someone with 38 million followers when you tell
Yeah.
your followers to do things. And I have noticed him do that before too, where he's just like, don't do this just because I said so. We're not coordinating like a spam campaign here. We're not like I
Yeah.
just if you would like to see this movie, you could tell people that you would like to see the movie. I'm just informing you of that. That is an option of things that you could do. And then people did do that, like it was a coordinated campaign. And apparently a lot of theaters were like, can you get your bots to stop spamming us? And he was like, it's not bots. It's not bots.
Those are real
Those
people.
are real
Yeah.
people. Because apparently this is a lot of the struggle he had too, is he would be like, I have 38 million YouTube followers, and people would be like, eh. And it's just like 38 billion is more
Dude,
views
that's a
than most people get on anything ever in traditional media. Like,
yeah.
but like there's this sense that the internet isn't real, I guess. Like we've talked about this before a little bit, where the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, I think, where it's like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
somehow not real because it's on the internet, and it's just like it's
Mhm.
literally the same.
Yeah, those are
um
literally people. It's like I think we talked about this. Like it's more so people now than it was before, even because YouTube did a big purge of dummy accounts, or I don't even know. But yeah.
Yeah. So it opened in like 4,000 theaters eventually, including most of the
Mhm.
big chains. And I went to go see it. And it did
Mhm.
very well. It
Yes.
was almost the #1 movie by box office revenue the opening weekend against Send Help, which is Disney and San Raimi. It did
Mhm.
win on like actual tickets sold the opening weekend against Send Help, apparently, because
Mhm.
Send Help was in more of the premium theaters that had slightly higher like average ticket price, so it made more
Yeah.
money, but Markiplier had more people in seats. Um,
Mhm.
and it made like $18 million the opening weekend on its budget of $3 million of Markiplier's money. So that's cool,
Mhm.
and that's based again like on no marketing, no distributor.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only marketing he did apparently was give the theaters money to like put up posters and stuff. And he's like, I don't really think that's marketing. I think that's just like helping the theaters out with doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That feels like less marketing and more like this is just business operations. Like this is
mhm,
just, are you showing my movie? Have a poster so you can put the poster up and let people know you're showing my movie, kind of thing.
yeah. Or alternately, all the marketing he's done has been his last 10 years on YouTube and his last
Yes.
3 years
Yes.
of talking constantly about how he's working on a movie, um,
Yeah.
which I think is a big thing. And definitely, I don't
That
even.
yeah, I feel like that shouldn't be discounted.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's like, sure, you didn't do any like, you didn't pay for any marketing, but even you just being like, "Oh, yes, I'm going to just tell my millions of
Yes.
subscribers that I'm doing a thing
And
is its own form of
he's pretty
marketing.
good at caveating that a lot with being like, I'm very lucky and this is the culmination of a lot of work that I've been doing over years. This is not like anyone can do it story. It's a,
Yeah,
if you have
yeah.
38 million followers on YouTube, you can do it story. But that still is an interesting story because for some reason, people in traditional media organizations still
Mhm.
just don't believe people on YouTube can do things,
Yeah.
apparently. And so there's a lot of reporting on Ireland doing well that is just like really surprised, and some of it in a really sort of like infantilizing, condescending way of just like he told all his Gen Z followers to buy tickets or whatever. Many
Yeah.
pointedly quoting that like his biggest group was men 18 to 30 or something like that. It's just like what does that
Isn't that
matter?
usually the group that you like that's just that's weird for me because I just want to take a
Yeah.
moment and be like, isn't that the group that you guys usually want to have into a thing? It's like there's so many things that I feel like have been like, oh no, we're not attracting the young men. We must kill the project for them to be like, oh, but it's only the young men. That feels so backwards. That
Yeah.
feels so backwards.
It's
And also
also
just like
yeah.
a little sidebar, I want to say just the trailer that he posted on his YouTube channel has 6.7 million views.
Yeah.
Like, that's marketing.
Yes. Yeah. And like
Mm,
the authentic marketing is just like the talking about the process that did all the time. Like
yeah.
I'm not a
Hmm.
super Markiplier fan, but we've watched a bunch of his streams and a bunch of his let's plays where people just like chat during them.
Hmm.
Like he'll play observation duty and then he'll spend half the time talking about other things during observation duty because
Yeah.
you're just looking at stuff. Um,
Hmm.
and so he'd talk about the process that he went through to do it and be like, oh yeah, we did so much fake blood and I had to go to the hospital because I got too much fake blood in my eyes. And I have a render farm in my bathroom because I decided to render all the digital effects myself because that was the most efficient way to do it. And like
Yeah.
showing pictures of like the server farm that he has set up in his spare bathroom because that like needs cooling and that was the room that he had free in his house and stuff like that. And just like
Hmm.
a lot of interesting stuff where it's just like he believes in this project, he's working on it hard. It's really
Hmm.
interesting to see what he does, and I want to see what the final product is. And like that to me is way better marketing than anything else.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
that's the thing that I think didn't get across in a lot of the weirdly condescending reporting on this is that like many of the people who went to go see this movie knew what they were doing. Like maybe they
Right.
wanted to see the movie, and maybe they wanted to prove that a YouTuber can make a movie and that can sell
Hmm.
tickets. And maybe both. Like for me, it was definitely both. I did want to see the movie. I thought Iron Man was a
Yeah.
cool game and like it would probably be a pretty good movie because I think Markiplier is relatively good at things. Although I was like, maybe it's probably not gonna be great. This is for his first movie. Um,
Hmm.
it was and it was a lot actually better than I expected, and we can talk about that if we want. But like people knew that they were making a statement, and he talked to a lot of his
Yeah.
followers who were just like, I think this is really important as a statement for independent filmmakers that this is possible, and people
Yeah.
wanted to prove that that was possible, and that's why they went and bought tickets. So like
Yeah.
that is an element of it that I feel like is under recognized in all the mainstream reporting on it, who are just
Hmm.
like, he's a guy on YouTube who told his kids that are super excited about him for some reason because his cult of personality to come see his movie. And it's just like, okay, no, you can't do that.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
none of your marketing campaigns can get millions of people to call theaters and demand to see your movie. So maybe you should
Yeah.
like wonder why that is.
Yeah, no, yeah, like, it's like I'm just kinda, like, poking around on YouTube as we're talking here, to the point of he lost out the box office to Send Help. Send Help, a movie that was, like, 20th Century Fox,
Hmm.
had Rachel McAdams in it, Sam Raimi, like, that trailer got 10 million views on YouTube, and with, like, none of that backing, none of those, like, channels of distribution and,
Yes.
like,
He
back
also
like
released the first trailer like 2 years ago because he's been working on like the post
yeah.
production of the video on weekends while he's. Let me see the quote from this. Like, because the reason I put this on the topic for this week, other than I just wanted to talk about something fun, is that he did do this interview with Deadline, and he's done a bunch of interviews
Mhm.
with a bunch of other people on his success now that it's sort of 2 weeks out from the movie, and he could talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But did you gravitate to it right after it came out in 2022, thinking this is the one? Yeah, it wasn't too long after it came out that I reached out to the developer. It took 3 years to make because I had so many other things that I was doing. It was harder this past 3 years just because it so happened to coincide with a podcast deal that I got with Spotify and a clothing company I've been building. And in the background, um, everything is kind of letting at the same time. If it's just YouTube, I've got a good handle on that. I've got a lot of editors, and that pipeline is very established. I had to make this movie on weekends. Because yeah, he did also do the podcast adaptation that was released on Amazon Video these past couple of
Mm.
years too. So that was a lot of stuff that he was doing while making this movie by
Yes.
himself.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, to
not
the
entirely by himself, but
yeah,
yeah.
not entirely nice. Like he is like, I'm glad this is really successful because I can give the crew a big bonus, which is nice too. So
Yes.
because yes, it was very profitable. That's
Yeah.
the other thing. He's like, well, it'll be in theaters one weekend, and then we'll see what happens, basically, because they're like, we'll renew it if people actually come see it. We didn't do a distribution deal where it's like guaranteed to be in theaters for a certain amount of time, so it'll be in theaters as long as the theaters think it's valuable for them to keep having it, basically. Um,
Yeah.
so
I do like this line, yeah, like Iron Lung will run in theaters for as long as possible. Where he's like, well, what after that? And he's like, well, I might just have to buy a bunch of Blu-ray
yes,
burners and start burning Blu-rays on my own. I've always liked to fall back on the thing where at the end of the day, you can do it all yourself if you really want to.
yeah,
Yeah, you know what? If nobody's going to do it for you, just do it yourself.
yeah, and it's like he could do it just to prove that he can do it, which is interesting as a YouTuber,
Yeah.
also, but just like because it's much cheaper
Hmm.
that way, also. But yeah, the total domestic pull is 34 million now, and has made another
Hmm.
8 to 9 million globally. So he has
Yeah.
made what, like $45 million on his $3 million budget. He could pay someone to burn Blu-rays for him, but like it's the point.
Yeah.
It's the point of the thing, and just sort of like going through the exercise that's important. I think of
Yeah.
like wanting to do the process himself and learn what it entails, and that's where like the render farm in his bathroom happened too, where it's just like, again, he could have paid someone to do that, but it's just like,
Yeah.
well, like I do video editing anyway. I do effects on stuff. Like, how much more complicated are the effects for a movie than they are for the ones that I'm doing on my own videos? And like the answer is more complicated, but like not so more complicated that you can't buy
Yeah.
some chips at a discount and build a render farm in your bathroom. So
Right. Well, especially when you're somebody like Markiplier who
yes.
is, making millions off of YouTube. I love this story because I do love the idea of like, hey, he's made something on its merits that is good and has shown that it's like, yeah, there's still a space out there for individuals making things, but like they feel like there doesn't be a little asterisk star on there, which is like, one, he's got like millions of followers,
Hmm.
and two, those millions of followers do translate to a revenue stream that's pretty
Yes. Like
significant.
he
So
spent
it's
$3
like,
million of his own money on this. Like that's a not
yeah, yeah.
insignificant amount of money for most people.
Right, right. And the fact that he had $3 million
Yes.
that he could just spend on this thing is telling.
Yes.
So yeah. So it's like on the one hand, it's like, this is awesome. I do love it. But I do think it does need to be said. Part of the reason why Markiplier is able to do this is because Markiplier does have money.
Yes.
That's a kind of significant thing in why he did it, because it did mean he didn't need to like do a Kickstarter or like appeal to like,
Mhm.
an investor or anything like that. He could just take his own money and do a thing with it.
Yeah. I think that's definitely an important point. And like I mentioned, I think he's pretty good at caveating. And it's like I've been able to do this
Yeah,
because I've
yeah.
had a lot of success on YouTube and made money from that
Yes.
and have followers from that I can leverage. But like even
Yeah.
so, he had to fight a lot to get a movie made,
Yes,
just like
yes.
through the
Mhm.
system, basically, of people who
Yeah,
are like,
yeah.
no, you can't possibly do blah without hiring like blah whole company to do this for you. And he's like, I make things on YouTube. I understand a movie is different. And he's also just like, I wanted to make a movie because I know it's different and I wanted to learn what goes into making a movie. And I did learn a huge amount of things in the process.
Mhm.
And I admire all the work that people are doing. And I worked with a lot of people who do great work. And that's the reason why the movie is good. So
Yeah.
like he does a lot of that too. But also just like, yes, it's different, but it's not like so qualitatively different that a YouTuber cannot do it, which is what a
Yeah,
lot of people
yeah.
in the industry seem to treat it like, where it's just like, oh, you're just doing YouTube. That's not the same thing as actually like producing something that is of value.
It's more and more, it is becoming the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah, and the industry not recognizing I think it's true also of like video games in a weird way
Mhm.
too, where Hollywood has this weird fixation where it's just like, no, no, this is what we do and you can't do what we do. But people can,
Mhm.
people who really are passionate. It's like, this is also like, this reminds me of, this feels very reminiscent of like Claire Obscure. That group was like, they had worked as game developers at Ubisoft, but like a lot of the development of that game was them like watching YouTube tutorials of how to do a thing. Like the performance capture, which is like this thing that happens in a lot of games, like the thing where they've got the dots and the ping pong balls all over their
Mhm.
faces. It's like they just kind of did that in an office with themselves.
Yes.
And it's like, and they've won so many awards now. And so it's like, I feel like that and Iron Lung are both these kind of like middle finger to like the establishment of a lot of these creative,
Yeah.
like these creative industries to be like, no, I can do this myself. Yeah, it costs money, it takes time, but we don't need these like large monopoly, corporate entities occupying all of the entertainment space. And in fact, like things are better when it's like, it's just these people kind of making a labor of love who really care about the quality and the story of the product that they're
Mhm.
making. So I feel like it's this counter argument to a lot of what we're seeing in other parts of these industries, where it's just
Yeah.
like, no, actually, people can create art, people can make these really beautiful things. Like, just let them, you know?
Yeah, and to the point of like it's going up against some pretty strong competitors with a lot more behind them. The title of
Yeah.
the Wall Street Journal article that I have linked here, which I do think is actually a pretty good overview and is not doing the condescending same thing that I saw in a lot of other ones, is
Mhm.
the self-financed horror movie that beat Melania and battled Disney for #1.
I love it. I love it. And I feel like it's also telling, like, in a way too, because I know that horror movies in like Hollywood and in like the movie industry
Mhm.
do tend to get kind of like poo-pooed a
Yeah,
lot as being like, oh, you're just a genre movie. You're not serious. You're not like artistic in
yeah.
the same way that other movies are. So yeah, the fact that they're calling out like one, the fact that it is a horror movie, and two, that they're like calling that out, I feel is also delightful and good in
Mhm.
terms of just like, yeah, no, like, this is still something good and people like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to say is just like my review of the movie in general, and then talk a little bit about what I think
Yeah.
was a good approach that he did to it, which is what made it good. H Bomber Guy, the YouTuber, wrote a really good review of it that I liked, where he
Mhm,
expressed something where it's just like, this is a good movie. I find
mhm,
myself thinking about this movie like it was a movie and not caveating in my head with like, well, it's a pretty okay movie for something made by a YouTuber on a low budget or whatever. It's just a good movie. And it's just like, I
mhm,
agree. It is just a good movie. It is well done, taking some risks. James A. Denise
mm,
was like, "This is a risk-taking movie because because some of his followers are not going to like it." There's a lot of
mhm,
feedback that it was like it was kind of boring and confusing because it is just like it's a one location thing. It's all within the submarine. It's all Markiplier. And there's a
yeah,
lot of time where things don't really happen because he's just driving the submarine around and like slowly running out
mhm.
of oxygen and sweating a lot, and like that's it. And people are like, it's boring and plotting and it's too long and could have been edited down. I'm like, maybe it could be edited down, but like I personally thought it was fine, and like because I felt that felt intentional. In
Mhm,
that it was trying to express the feeling of the Iron Lung game, and the feeling of the Iron Lung game is I'm sort of tediously piloting the submarine amid like a vast cosmic horror that could strike at any moment, but probably won't for the next while. That's also some wording from H. Bomber Guy's thing. And that's a particular like emotion to express in the movie. And I feel like the
mhm.
pacing of the movie was meant to help express that and did. So
Yeah,
that's sort of my take on like it's boring and too long. It's like I you just have to sort of be patient and absorb it. Or like you don't like that, which is also valid. So
yeah,
and so yeah, in terms of his approach to making this, looking at it, I was like, oh, this was a really strategic choice to make this in particular for his first movie. And he did talk about that a little bit in this article and some other places, and being like, for your first movie, you don't actually want to go super big with it, especially if you don't know what you're
mhm,
doing. So picking something with a very small scope that is just like there's one setting. I am the actor because I don't want to deal with like having to worry about anyone else basically. Um
yeah,
Directing them and putting them through me being a bad director or whatever. Basically, I can
mhm.
direct myself and I can handle all that and
Yeah.
go to the hospital for getting blood in my eyes and etc. Um, and it will be a relatively simple story with just survive that I want to communicate. And like,
Yeah,
it's not just like an emotions piece. Vibe is maybe underselling it a little bit because it is just like there's a story there that is communicated subtly and such that it
yeah,
is
it's like a
worth.
more like a psychological
Yeah,
horror
it's
than
like
like
for
a
sure a psychological horror in a lot of
mhm,
ways. Um, and so it's cool. And I think
yeah,
that was a good choice for your first movie. And it's like
mhm,
set yourself a goal that is a stretch, but is reasonable to achieve, and not just like swing for the fences on your first movie. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I learned a lot of the course of the movie. I think it's a good movie. I think my next movie is going to be a better movie because now I learned a lot and I can do something bigger next time. And
Mhm.
I will
Yeah.
just probably direct it and have someone else act this time. And I think
Yeah.
that's just like a really good approach to things. And I really like how he talks about just like approaching things that are hard as learning experiences and challenging yourself and being able to sort of build up the skills by pushing yourself a little bit, but not like killing yourself, just like doing
Yeah.
something that you think is possible and scoping it and then being like, okay, what do I need to do to get this done? And I think he got
Mhm.
it done. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, like, it's definitely a very uplifting story in that regard. I think it speaks so well to, like, what makes a really good creative product in a lot of ways is knowing your
Uh-huh.
limitations and knowing how to, like, work within those limitations, but then also kind of, like, push those boundaries a little bit, and it's, like, that's very important for developing as an artist because also, yeah, like, it means you don't get frustrated because you're not reaching too far outside of your current skill set for
Yeah.
something that you can't do, and so, yeah, in many ways, the story of it being made is a great story, and it's, like, I haven't seen the movie yet. I probably will, like, if if he starts printing DVDs and his
Yes, he's definitely gonna have it on streaming too. It's probably self-hosted because he has got a bunch of distributors reaching out to him now and being like, "Do you want to do a deal
Mhm.
for like the streaming publication and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that?"
yeah, put it
And
on, like, Netflix or something, yeah.
yeah,
And
and
he could
he
just put it on his YouTube channel.
and he's still working out, I think, where it goes because I think, but
Mhm,
he has said that he's probably not going to take any of those deals just on principle. He
mhm.
actually had a story on one of his streams like right after it came out, which is that he went to a blood drive. There was a blood drive alongside this movie, which is very funny, also.
That's great. Great.
So he did
Yeah.
that, but he also went it and he talked to some fans while he was there, and one of them was telling him how it was like really meaningful to them that he did it totally independently and didn't work on a distributor. And when he mentioned he has a lot of offers from people now, the fan was just like, I don't think you should take those because that's diluting the message, basically. And so he's not going to take
Mhm,
those. He's going to
mhm.
do it himself.
Yeah.
And that's why he's
Yeah.
like, might physically buy DVD burners and do them, which is like, that's not a good use of your time. You have like $40 million, sir. but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like maybe it is a good use of his time if going through that process is meaningful for him and for sending Blu-rays to people where it's like, yeah, I built this movie myself and I literally like burned the Blu-rays in my garage. Like that is a
Yeah.
meaningful thing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think
Go for it, man.
that's all super, super cool.
Yeah, no, like, it's very much about, like, it is, like, the entire process of it is, like, a message, and I do appreciate that he's being principled in terms of the message that he's trying to
Mhm.
send. I hope that this kind of, like, changes some people's minds or, like, kind of makes some people more aware of the barriers to entry that exist in a lot of different spaces in our current economy and, like, things that can be done to remove those.
Yeah, and like the reason I wanted to talk about it on this platform in particular, other than that I thought it would be fun, is both just like to spread the awareness of like this is a thing that happened and is a thing that is doable because I think that's cool, but also to the point of like talking about a lot of the condescending reporting on it. Like there is a message here, and everyone who went to go see it is aware of that message. Like I don't think
Yeah.
anyone who watches Markiplier's videos is not aware that it is really meaningful that he made this movie by himself and feels that is an
Mhm.
important part of their engagement with the movie itself. And like that
Yeah.
is just a thing that I feel people don't understand at all. Like that's like two levels away from the level people understand. They get it, it's like, okay, yeah, he can make a movie because he just like has all of these Gen Z kids who like weirdly idolize YouTubers for some reason, and he told them all to go see the movie. And it's just like,
You're
kinda,
missing
but
the
no.
point. Yeah,
Like all
it's
these
like, "Here's the point going over your head, buddy."
yeah, and it's just like, no, like actually, first of all, they're not all like Gen Z kids who idolize him for some reason. They're people who think he's making interesting and creative content. And second, they know this is a statement against
Mhm,
the corporate media production machine, and they want to support something that shows that it doesn't have to be like that. And they are
mhm.
by buying the tickets to this movie. And like also they
Yeah.
want to see the movie. But like that first thing is a undeniable part of it.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like, and just, like, the deep yeah, like, the very condescending thing of, like, "Oh, kids don't understand what they're doing with their money." It's like, kids are probably more aware of, like, how their money interacts with the world in this generation than in any other generation
hmm
just because of, like, how available information is
Yeah.
due to the internet and other things. It's like, excuse you, these kids know what they're doing. These kids understand activism. Like it's kind of a necessity for how they've grown up.
Yeah. And like, it seems to have been an effective campaign, if you want to call it that way, where it's just like, you get all these articles like this Wall Street Journal one, or like many other mainstream outlets being like, what the heck is this movie that just played everything else at the box office? You may not have heard of it. I have, but I appreciate all of that reporting, because that means maybe more people will be more aware of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So I think that's all cool.
Yeah.
And people should go see Iron Lung. It's still in
Go
theaters
see
here,
Iron
as far as
Lung.
I know.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait until
Yeah.
he figures out his streaming stuff, but definitely want to see it at that point in time.
Yeah, I want to see it a second time, because there's a lot in it. He did also joke on his stream where it's like, here's my plot. It's make a movie so confusing they have to go see it a second time.
Like devious.
Like, I don't think it was that confusing, but it's a movie that does not hit you over the head with what it's doing, and has a bunch of subtle stuff in it that makes it worth seeing a second time. So
yeah. We recently did like a watch of all the Knives Out movies. And those are also movies where it's like, if you watch them a second time, you're like, oh yeah, that thing. Oh yeah, that thing. And it's fun when a movie doesn't treat you like an idiot, and there are in fact things that you gain by watching it a second time.
Yeah. So yes, good movie. Like, I was worried going in that it would be like only kind of mediocre. Like, I was still gonna be happy to go see a mediocre movie for all of the statement reasons that we just discussed.
Yes.
But I do think it's a genuinely good movie. So
Huzzah.
Congratulations to Markiplier.
Good job, Markiplier.
Thank you for listening to the Fast and Broken podcast. I'm Carly Rector, and if you'd like to support my work, you can subscribe to my newsletter at carlyrector.substack.com.
And I've been Teresa Kramer. If you want my voice on your products, you can visit my website at teresakramer.com.
And if you enjoyed this podcast, leave us a like or a review. It lets us know people are listening and helps more people find the podcast. See you next week.
Bye.